Hi guys, welcome back to Taylor Talks Trades. In today's episode we are with Stuart Mclean of S Mclean Decor. He's one of Scotland's most followed painters and decorators. He's taken us on a journey today, telling us a story about how a family tragedy actually made him take over the family business and about how he's amassed the 30k following on TikTok. I hope you enjoy. Hi Stuart, welcome to Taylor Talks Trades.
Great, thanks for having me.
I'll start where I always start, mate. How did you get into the trade?
Honestly, begrudgingly. Like everybody thinks my old man had a successful painting and decorating business that I was just going to follow suit, but it wasn't the case. Like I actually wanted to be a vet.
Really?
When I was in high school, done all my grades towards being a vet, done work experience with the Edinburgh Butterfly Farm, but just kind of my last year at school started taking like more of the handy subjects, crafting and design, done my advanced hire and art, and I was like, I like doing things with my hands. And I was out on my bikes, I used to be a BMXer as well, and snapped my handlebars, and I was like, here Dad, any chance you could give me some money to get a new set of handlebars? And he's like, if you want a new set of handlebars, you'll be working for them. And that was it.
So he had his own painting decorating company then?
It was, at one point it was I think it was one of the biggest in Scotland.
Wow.
He had contracts like all the way up in Aberdeen, mostly Broxburn he built, because they done a lot of work for John Dennis. John Dennis pulled out of Scotland and kind of started bringing it down. He had a business partner that they had a wee falling out, and kind of just sort of became Mclean Decorators instead of, I think it was H&M Decorators he was.
Right. So it was a big outfit.
I don't know how many guys he had. Like I was only about 10 or 14 when it was in its heyday.
Yeah. And then so how did it go from being the vet to then that? Was it like, did he just say, look, you're going to come and work with me, or what was
I think it was more, I was making money, yeah. It was like,
So was this at weekends and stuff like that?
Like every summer holidays I was working for my dad, and I was helping him with homers and things like that. And like all my pals were working in supermarkets and doing things like that, and I was like, I've actually got a bit of dosh here. I just enjoyed it, really. And like I'd been to an open day at the university for vets, and they were like, oh, you do know if you undertake this, it's going to be at least 8 years because you need to be more qualified than a doctor. Well, I was like, wow, why? It's like, well, if there's ever a national emergency, a vet can become a doctor. So like with COVID, like they had to pull dentists and all that to do the vaccinations, that would effectively what you'd have to do as well.
That's interesting. Well, and then so did you sort of go into the painting decorating then sort of full time, like after you left school? What was the sort of journey after that then? What was
my dad just took me on. It's like, there's a site down in Peebles, you can
start to learn.
Start there, because my dad did have one of the biggest firms in the country. I got to learn of some of the best tradesmen as well. Yeah. And they were all really good tradesmen. Obviously I got a bit of stick because I was the boss's son, as you'd expect. But
how did you find that then? Was it all right? Kind of, did they take the time to teach you properly and stuff like that? Or
obviously it was mostly site work, but my dad would do homers at the weekends. So when he would take me and like show me wallpaper and different skill sets in the trade. Yeah. I wish I'd learned, listened more. That's probably a bit
at the time.
More. I don't want to be a painter. I'm just going to do this till I figure something else out.
And what about, did you have any siblings or anything like that within the business as well?
I've got two brothers. One's in the travel industry, and my oldest brother is a painter and decorator as well.
Right.
So I was working beside him a lot. And I think that was the best thing about working for my dad. I was like working with my brother and my dad, so we were all really close.
Yeah. What kicked on for there then? Was it all mostly sites that you were doing and stuff like that? And
yeah, it was mostly site work. The odd private job here and there, but it was predominantly site work.
Yeah.
We were mostly working for Stuart and Jamie, and my dad's firm was their preferred contractor. So any sites that were opening up, he got the first tenders, first refusal on them, which was really good.
Yeah. And then what was the sort of progression then? So like I know you're S Mclean Decor for yourself now, but there must be a gap in there. How do we fill the?
Tragically, my dad died on site.
Right.
So me and my brother were kind of like, don't know really know what to do. My dad was a sole director, So we didn't have access to any of his accounts. So like after the funeral, we had to go about how do we start a business. Because my dad had taught us how to be decorators.
Yep.
He didn't teach us how to be businessmen.
Yep.
So we actually had no clue what we were doing. A lot of people helped us out, but...
So what sort of age were you around that time then?
25, 26.
25, pretty young. And your dad just died on site?
I remember that day perfectly.
Like,
we were driving up to Stirling. My dad was talking about how annoyed he was that he hadn't had a shave at the weekend. He was like, oh, I need to go home and have a shave. We were sitting having lunch in the canteen and he was complaining about indigestion.
Right.
I thought it was indigestion anyway. And we went back up. He went up early because he was in the middle of taping a house. I was a bit greedy with my time at lunch, so I sat down a wee bit 10 minutes longer. I met him halfway and he's like, nah, I need something for this indigestion. So never thought anything of it, like you wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I went back to the house I was painting, he went back to the house he was taping, it was across the road from each other. I had taken a handrail off the wall to paint behind it, and my uncle, who's a taper, was working with us, and he's came like storming into the house like, your dad's collapsed. Obviously I didn't think how bad it could be, so I'm like looking for my hard hat, my vest, because I was leaving the house.
Yep. And
went into the house and he's collapsed at the top of the stair, and I phoned the site first aider and like phoned an ambulance, and it felt like the ambulance took about an hour to come, but in reality it's probably about 3 or 4 minutes. But it's just one of those days, and lose track of time with things like that.
That's absolutely crazy. Sorry to hear that, mate. That's wild. And how did the full sort of like, how did that, like, that must be quite a rare occasion for that to happen on site. I take it everybody was massively sort of taken back, and
they were, aye, but like it took me and my brother 2 weeks to get the business off the ground. Like obviously the first week we were grieving, mourning.
2 weeks, that's rapid.
Trying to arrange a funeral. Well, we had to, because the contracts manager for them was like, if they're not back on site on Monday, get somebody else.
Seriously?
Aye. And by the time we'd got back, the house had progressed. Like,
so they put people in to keep the work going?
My dad started taping the house on the Monday, so he's only gotten the first couple of tapes on, and by the time we came back, there were skirtings on, the radiators were on, the electricity, all that, but the house wasn't taped. So it was harder to tape, harder to sand. The whole thing just completely progressed. And I remember when the customers moved into that house, I was doing the customer care for them. And I told them about what happened, and they were like, I can't believe we weren't told about this. Like, if we'd known that, we would have put this house back. We would have postponed, because that's a tragedy.
Absolutely, aye.
But it just felt like nobody cared, really.
That's horrible. I guess in these scenarios, like, nobody would know how to probably react, but you would expect to think that you wouldn't be getting told you're going to be off site on Monday if you're not back.
Aye, definitely, because we didn't have the funeral till the following Saturday. It was one of the biggest funerals I've ever been to. Like, I didn't realise how many people my dad actually knew.
I take it was quite a popular man then, obviously being in business as well and having a bit...
Well, he was the president of the Decorators Federation as well.
Oh, really?
I think it was 2010 or 2011.
Oh, wow.
So he was well respected within the industry.
So you were back on... So the funeral was the following Saturday from you were back on site before the funeral?
No, because we weren't insured to be on site or anything.
Right.
So like the first week we were grieving, mourning. I arranged the funeral for the Saturday, and then Monday we started trying to got a business name off the ground. So, S Mclean Decorators.
Yep.
My brother's Donald. Got insurance sorted. The surveyor for the house builder kind of just transferred everything. The guy, the paint supplier, he was great. He was like, look, your dad's company's due us this amount of money. Obviously, we're not going to be horrible and say this needs paid, but if you settle your dad's debt, we'll just continue your dad's discount and transfer it, which was like, I think my dad had like 20 years worth of discounts built up, so like, that was a great head start for us.
Yeah.
Towards the end of working for that house builder, the contracts manager was like, they need to be on site. They were going to open up a massive office through in the east of Scotland, and they were like, you all have, like, site managers were told us, like, you are in a great position, we're happy with the work, like, you could grow as a company, because we were going to have sites all over the east of Scotland. But that contracts manager was like, "No, I didn't want any sites. He just didn't like us. Our face didn't fit."
Oh man.
So the site in Stirling came to an end, and we were like, "Well, where do we go for here?" But luckily, we knew another paint and decorating firm in Lonehead, where I'm from.
Yep.
And they just, I phoned up on the Friday, and the guy's like, "That's great, you can start Monday." So we were subbed to him for then, and I think for 6 or 7 years we were just subbed to him.
Mm-hmm. And was that all still house builder stuff?
It was, aye.
You must have had a bit of a kind of sour taste for the house builders.
Oh, aye, definitely. It was just treated like crap on building sites. Like, you get painting and decorating, it's always seen as a hobby trade anyway. Like, you see it all the time on TikTok and things like that. It's like, oh, if you can piss, you can paint. Like, there's a lot more to it than a lot of people think there is, but it is looked down upon quite a bit. So we're working for this company we were subbed to for 6 or 7 years, and then my brother told me that our business model just wasn't working. We would probably be better going self-employed and things like that. And by that time I was just completely fed up with site work. The site manager on the site we were on just took a complete dislike to me for some reason. I was involved in an accident on site. In December 2019, I was out painting railings and a ladder fell, cracked me on the arm, broke my arm. And the site manager was brilliant at that point, because he's like, check, he had all his PPE, get it in the accident book, I'll phone the health and safety officer for the builder and explain what's happened and get a claim in as soon as you can, because they'll drag it out. But I didn't care if his site got downgraded or something because he'd had an accident on site.
Right.
But after that, he was really bitter towards me.
So he was fine to start with, but then it kind of changed a wee bit.
Well, he was a bit of a ball buster, eh? Like, he'd kicked guys off the site for nothing, but if he liked you, he liked you. And if he didn't like you, you were just gone. He was chucking people off sites for parking their car in the wrong place.
I know now you've sort of started up your own thing. How did that come about then? Did that come out of sort of the frustration of the sites and you wanted to go and work in
I'd been doing homers for a bit extra cash, and I'd built up quite a customer base. And while I was off with my broken arm, I set up a Facebook page with S Mclean Decor.
Yep.
And I was just using it to get like more customers involved. Like, instead of like tagging me and my brother's business, because that was predominantly site work, I was like, I'm off work, I'll do something productive. Started a sort of makeshift Facebook page, and I was just tagging myself and anybody that was looking for a decorator.
Yep.
I like doing homers because it was different. Like, we were just painting white walls, white ceilings, white woodwork.
Yep. Next
to us, white walls, white ceiling, white, boring. Like, there's like a bit of colour, a bit of wallpaper in.
Yeah.
And so I started that. And then when my brother said, like, we need to go self-employed, I was like, well, I'm going to do that. I want to get away from site work. I'm going to do it properly. I'm going to go out on my own. Like, it didn't burn any bridges. Like, I spoke to the guy we were subbed to, and it's like, if it doesn't work out, like, I might come back, but I think I'd rather work in a shop than work on site again.
And then, and that's when it just evolved for there then?
Aye, I had...
So that was S Mclean Decor off the ground?
Aye, I had about 2 months worth of homers booked in for weekend work, and that. Well, it was no good to me, because like, me and my brother were doing homers as well through the week. So we were working on site like 7 till 4 or whatever, and then we were going to our homers, and then I had my own homers at the weekend. I was barely seeing my kids. Like, and it was, like, it was Claire that actually put me. She's like, "You're doing this," and she pushed me to go self-employed, and said, "You'll get better work-life balance." And like I said, I had about 2 months worth of weekend homers booked in. I just phoned them all up and said, "Look, this is what I'm doing. Can I move you to through the week?" And that gave me about 3 or 4 weeks worth of work to just start off with. Give me time to advertise, get like jumpers made, flyers, things like that. And I've never really been out of work since.
That's brilliant. That's good. That's exactly what I done. That's why I'm smiling, because it was I was sort of fit, like I'd finished my apprenticeship, I was still with the company, had became a tradesman and was working there, and started doing like the odd jobs, the homers and stuff like that at the weekends and at nights, and very similar to yourself. And I'd built up like a wee kind of order book, and I'd got to the point where I was like, I'm going to go out I'm going to give this a go on my own. And I had built up a wee bit of a pipeline, and I had like a really good, what I thought was a good plan. And I'd basically, it was coming to the end of the year, and we always took 2 weeks off at Christmas. So I had the 2 weeks holiday at Christmas, and this was about a month before. So I thought, I'll go in, I'll be decent with my boss. I'll say, look, I'm going to hand in my notice, but you've got 6 weeks to kind of sort of like find a replacement or whatever. Like, it's plenty of notice, tie everything off that I'm doing. But I was all enthusiastic about it, and I'd bought the van, and then I'd got ladders, and I was kind of, trying to get everything ready, and like I was all like thinking, oh, this is great. So like I'm away in on the no, it was a Friday night after I'd actually finished that week, but my boss was never really around, like the big boss, he was never really there. But I phoned him on the Friday night, kind of just to let you know, like I'm going out on my own, like I've got a van, I've got ladders, like probably thinking, like I was thinking like, oh, he's going to be really proud of me, and thinking, oh, what a good lad, and I just think like the enthusiasm was, he was probably just like, well, I've just put you through your apprenticeship for 4 years, you've been here a couple of years, we're now probably, like I was probably now building the experience that I could have built that would have made him the money back and the investment that he probably put into me and stuff like that, and then I was just kind of going. So he was like, that's fine, like, but he wasn't really overly happy, and I was like, oh, that's a bit a shame kind of thing. But anyway, I'd put the notice in, and then on the Monday I went into work, and the contracts manager was there, and he said, oh, is that you finished up on Friday, kid? And I went, no, 4 weeks on Friday, and then Christmas holidays, and I'm starting. And I was telling him all about it, and he went, no, it's this Friday. And I went, oh no. And that was it. They were just like, look, you're a competitor now, like, Friday, that's you're done. So
we were similar. Like, I told my brother I was finishing up on the Friday, and he was all right with it. He told the guy we were subbing to, but when he told the site manager, like, oh, Stuart's away on Friday, the site manager was just like, just get rid of him now. He's crap. Just bin him. Like,
it's brutal.
He'll be in 2 weeks. He'll be phoning, begging you for his job back.
That's what they said to me as well. Everybody went
2 years down the line.
Everybody went, you're as well as going now, because you'll be phoning us back in a couple of weeks when you find out how hard it is, and that kind of drives you a wee bit.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And so like that was it. I was out on my own on the Friday for like three weeks before Christmas, or no, it was like five. It was probably like 3.5 weeks before Christmas. And I had like customers in January, but like again, it was probably jobs that you'd go and catch at after your work. Normally as a homer, it might take you 3-4 hours, or you might need to do it on a weekend. So that, like, although there was quite a lot there, when you condense that into what you could do in a full working week for yourself, which you're not ever really been used to doing, like I pulled it in, and I think it was only like a couple of weeks of work, at most. So I'd pulled that all in, and then I was like, I'll just need to start now. And I was just phoning them and saying, can I come? But much like yourself, I got the Facebook page up and running. And see when you're like a one-man band as such, and you've just went out on your own, like everybody kind of loves you. And they sort of want to see you succeed. And I think that's great. And then for anybody that's trying to get into business, like, go for it, because you will get supported.
Oh, definitely.
But I've found so you would get people, tagging you in, and get Jamie to do your roof, and I've done a brilliant job here and that. And at that point, it's just me, and you're getting to people quite quick, and you're going and just getting the job done. But then as I grew, and what I've found over the years, like, people probably didn't quite support you as much anymore. It's kind of almost like, it's all right for them, they're kind of a big company or whatever, and we're no massive, certainly for that point to where we are now, sort of about 40 staff or something like that, it is a multi-million pound turnover business, but we're still family run, we've still got all them wee bits, so it sometimes can be a bit painful when it's just like, I've seen people sometimes maybe went on Facebook and said, I know who not to use, like, and tagged in like maybe Taylor Roofs, like my roofing company or whatever, and it's just like, sometimes you're thinking, that like they're a rip-off now or whatever, and they forget that at the beginning you went out and you probably did things for next to nothing, and you didn't know how to price it, and you helped everybody you possibly could, and now that you maybe kind of build something up a bit, it's just almost not acceptable to make profit. Like, you should be doing it all for free.
Exactly. Like, the people I used to do homers for, very rarely hear from them now.
Yeah.
Because like I was was doing it in my spare time, and like I was like borrowing materials for sites and that.
Borrowing.
Like, so they were getting it really cheap, but now I'm like, I've got a van to pay for, I've got insurance to pay for, tax, like all these things that all different overheads I didn't have before. So obviously it is a bit more expensive. And it's like you just didn't hear from them at all now, eh?
I know. It's just you're probably just too expensive for them now, and there'll always be that market where there's just like people are like, oh, get them to do it because they're really cheap or whatever. But sometimes for quality, you've just got to pay the right money, and it just comes with the peace of mind. It seems to be that you really love working for actual customers though, as opposed to you've had a lot of bad experience there. It seems with the sites and the managers and stuff, but how's it been with the customers then? Have you enjoyed that sort of being out there, your own man, and dealing one-to-one with them? And
great. I think I've only had one bad customer, and it was right at the start. Taught me a harsh lesson. Like it wasn't a massive amount of money, but like it was one of my first customers. I went to price a job, and it was like a full house of wallpaper in, and I was like, where did I start? Like I'd never been taught this. Like
in terms of how to price it.
Aye, so like I just kind of like tweaked my Homer prices a wee bit.
Yeah.
And like they were like, well, you're a new company, like we'll go with you or like support you and that because I came what it's like to start up a business, but they kind of knew I was a bit green.
Yeah.
So like, and I was a bit naive as well. Like I'm not going to shy away from it. It was a mistake on my part. They were like, do you need that wallpaper stripped before you can repaper it? And I was like, well, I've no price to strip it. And they're like, oh, fine, then I'll strip it tonight and you can paper it tomorrow. But they'd only took the face paper off. Right. They hadn't taken the backing paper off, and they're like, is that all right? And I was like, well, aye and not. Like, this is what can happen if I paper on top of that.
Yeah.
But if you're all right with that, it's just a kitchen, eh? It's just a kitchen. Nobody will see it. But what I should have done was, because I was like, oh, well, if that's fine, and then you see on Facebook and things like that, like, if they've not paid for it, they're not getting it. Like, people are a bit harsh on the internet. So I was like, just taking advice for idiots online. So I just went ahead with it, and I really should have just, for the time it would have took, I should have just soaked it and stripped it. So it probably took me about half an hour. But like I said, naive. Papered it, and like, I had to paper their stair as well, but I wasn't allowed up the stairs to start with. So they wanted me to paper it from the bottom to the top, which just made it completely awkward. And like, there was bits where the paper wasn't matching because it was so awkward trying to paper it up the stair. When I should have just went, nah, I'll do it this way. Like, obviously I'm a bit wiser now. And I would have said, no, we'll leave it until I can get up the stairs and come down with it. And like, it came to like doing another room, done the room for them, and it's like, right, it's going to be like, I need paid for that. And like, no, the kitchen's not right, the hall's not right. I'll pay you £50 for your efforts, and that'll be it.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, all right, but they paid me for the whole job. It was just this one room they hadn't paid me for.
Yeah,
I was like,
right. So they probably knew they were going to do that.
Aye, and I was like, Kim, what? I'm not going to quabble with them, and I'm no, I think in spite or that, but like I'm not going to take that £50 either. I'm just going to block them. Like, I never want to deal with them again. They took advantage of me. I was naive, and
it's a good lesson though.
It was a good lesson.
It's a good lesson, and I think there's a lot of lessons in that. Like there's customers. There's some probably homeowners or just people out there in general that that's how they go through life. And unfortunately, there's just some people in life like that they'll go, we'll get this job done, and we'll just try and no pay it at the end, or we'll try and get something off. And it's like, you're actually destined to fail before you even begin. And you know, it's especially for guys that's sort of early on and they're self-employed, or they're sort of starting a business journey. It's really dangerous for them, because obviously you don't know where your next job's coming from. You're not like spending money on marketing or anything. So you're actually going out there, and any customer you see, you're thinking, I need to get this job, I could get some more work from them, they'll recommend me to somebody else. Probably in them early days, you're actually far too cheap.
Aye.
Like everybody was. I was, most trades guys that were too cheap in the early days, because we're like, well, it's probably more important in the early days to do a good job, get recommended, get a good review on your Facebook or your Google or whatever you've got, and then you build that up, and then you sort of, a lot of trades will do this where they go through the gears of doing that because they know that, like, later on it's like, I'll be a bit wiser, I'll have learnt the lessons and I'll probably be able to charge a wee bit more for that experience and for the quality that you're given. But there is a lot of people out there that will just prey on others, and that's...
The biggest red flag for me with the whole thing was they never gave me a chance to write it either.
Yeah.
They were just like, you're not getting paid for that, and that's it. It's like, well, I'm not going to get a chance to like replace the wallpaper and start again, or things like that. It was all stuff. It was all cheap enough wallpaper. Like, I'd only go out for like the range or something. Yeah. So it wouldn't cost a massive deal, and it would only cost me my time to fix it. And like I was saying to my wife at the time, it's more important now because I've got like 15 reviews on my Facebook page, and they're all 5-star glowing reports. I didn't want one bad one because that can change everything. Like,
what do you think about like bad reviews? What's your thoughts on it? Because my dynamics changed, and I'm 11 years into my business now. It was different at the beginning.
I'm probably such a hypocrite with it because like when I go on TripAdvisor looking at hotels, I always look at the worst reviews because you're only as good as your worst review.
Yeah. So this is my technique for anybody that's trying to find something, a service or whatever, and especially trades. Usually what I'll do is I'll go into Google and I'll find the company that I'm looking for or the service that I'm looking for, and then I'll see one that's got maybe good reviews or whatever, and I'll go onto it and I'll click lowest, and I'll go down to their lowest reviews, and I'll start from the bottom. Like if there's a 1-star or whatever, 2-star or whatnot. Normally what you find online is they're all 5-star reviews, but then there's like some bad ones at the bottom, and I just see how bad it can get. And sometimes you read it, and because like I'm in the trades and I understand all what the different people can be like, I just read through the review and I kind of think, I don't think that company's done anything wrong there. I understand how that's happened, and then I'm like, that's fine. And then but if there's lots that's like never turned up on time, didn't finish the job, didn't explain all the costs to me, then you can see that's red flags for a company. But if it's like sort of routine things where you're like, oh, that's an easy mistake that could happen, then I'm sort of quite forgiving that way. And that's where I've probably got to. Like I think we spent maybe 8, 9, possibly 10 years with like 5-star reviews everywhere, 10 out of 10s on the Trusted Trader like pilots that we're on and stuff like that. And when we've ended up, I think we've got 2 or 3 maybe 1-stars now, and it's like one of them is because we charge like a £30 survey fee for to send our surveyor out. Now that's something we've done years down the line after sort of building the company up to be what it is, and we it's just one of the things that we do. We're like we basically employ full-time like roofing estimators, so we can't just send them out for free everywhere. So ultimately it's like it's a £30 deposit to secure a 1-hour guaranteed booking for one of our surveyors to go out. Now he'll go out and he'll survey the roof, he'll look in the loft, he'll check all the roof, and then he'll provide a quote and everything. And if you go ahead with any work that we've given, that £30 comes off it. So it's probably not even really covering his fuel and his time, the person that's going out. But it's just a wee sort of micro commitment at that point for us to know that customer has probably already researched us. Because you're not going to give somebody 30 quid for a survey if you've no sort of checked the reviews and researched them. It's the first kind of interaction to go, oh wait now, I might go and check you out a wee bit more and I'll phone you back. And we'd rather that, because the reality is like we're probably not going to be the cheapest. Well, we're definitely not going to be the cheapest, is what I would think, in comparison to other roofing companies that's serving homeowners round about us. So I would want them to know that up front. Like I didn't want them wasting all their time and then doing that. So we put that in place, and we got a bad review for it saying it was a scam, right? And I was thinking to myself, I was like, imagine the amount of £30 surveys we would need to do, to be doing 2-3 million of turnover, whatever we're doing. Like actually the amount of £30 surveys we'd need to be doing for that to be the model. It's like, because I think they probably don't even really want to win the job, they just want to get the 30 quid, and I'm like, that's just crazy. But everybody's entitled to their opinion, and I'm like, that's fair. So like I just replied to that, a really good reply, honest reply, and then it's there. But so that's what I was saying is 10 years down the line, having a 1-star review isn't the end of the world, but at the beginning, it really is.
I think I've been lucky because like my biggest flaw in my business is communication.
Yeah.
Like I'm a one-man band. Like, Claire helps out with the admin.
Yeah.
Like, well, I say she helps out, she does most of it. But like, it is just us, like, 2 young kids that are at a difficult age as well. It's hard to keep on top of all the messages we get. I think we get about 10 inquiries a day for people wanting to paint and decorate. And
that's good.
But it's nearly impossible to keep on top of it.
That's what I mean though, like how many of them could be like time wasters as well.
Like,
and that's where, like, see when I'm talking about the survey fee, like you probably wouldn't be able to say, oh well, it's £30 for me to come out, because you probably couldn't guarantee that you'd give a 1 hour arrival time slot on a certain day, because you're fighting so many fires, like you said, you know, all the stuff within the actual just doing the job, but then there's the admin, and then you've got like a young family as well. So it's difficult, whereas like we put our kind of neck on the line to say, look, that's exactly when we'll be there, and if we're not there, then they're well entitled to say, well, I want my £30 back, like you never turned up when you said you were going to. So it puts a bit of pressure on us as well. But I think it's another thing, it's another good point. It's like, should the quotes be free? Like should you, like who pays?
I know, it's like,
because there's tradesmen all around Scotland going out to customers' houses, spending fuel in their van, which the fuel has went up. They're going into the home. They're getting all the options, going over things, taking notes, pricing it all up, going away, putting a quote together, getting the quote back over, and then the person might just go, nah, no, I didn't fancy it. But how's that? How did it in the trades world that became a free service?
I know, it's mental, because like it's so saturated as well, especially with painters and decorators. I think there's 10 painters and decorators in my wee town.
I thought you were going to say in your street there.
And then another 10 in the next town. And so if somebody phoned me up and says, I want a quote visit, like, right, it'll be £20 to, for my time. Now I'll get somebody else.
It'd be interesting to see if you tried it. You know, it's I'm not advising that you do it, because I don't know how it'll work. We implemented it. I think it was just after COVID, when we went back after COVID. So it's been up and running for a few years, and it's worked pretty well, to be honest. But it could be a risk. But I think there's just value in doing that, because you and many other trades business owners, they probably either need, like if you're actually on the job doing it through the day, then the only time you can go and quote is either take a day off where you're not earning. So you could take a day off and go and visit all them jobs, but you're not getting paid for that. So you could look at all of them jobs, you know, whether you go to 5, 10 with that day or whatever, and then the reality is, like, none of them went ahead, then that was just a total waste. Like, you're not feeding your family at that point.
You can usually tell when you walk through the door and they're like, yeah, we're hoping to get it done in a week's time, and you're like, no, like it's about 12 weeks at least.
Yeah. And that's where, like, sometimes just sort of, and this would maybe be further along the line if you start to grow the business at all, but you know, just you set out sort of your requirements. You go through this place of being like, you need to accept what other people are telling you to do, like the sort of wallpaper situation in that kitchen and stuff, but then you actually just say, like, you just can quote with a wee bit more confidence and say, look, this is how I do stairways, so I need to start upstairs.
Aye.
No, you can't. Right, well, I can't do it then. And you maybe have a bit of a standoff or whatever, but you're like, well, I'm not going to start just papering up for the bottom, because that's crazy. And it can be difficult when in the beginning you're probably just trying to get those jobs in, but then that's a homeowner telling you how to do your trade that you've spent years in.
I still think about it, like, why did I even go along with that? Like,
I understand it though, because you're scared actually. You're thinking, the customer's always right. That's what we got told.
Exactly, yeah.
Customer's always right. So you think the only way I'm going to get paid is if I do what they ask me to do. And it can be very there's just a feel in the atmosphere, eh?
Yeah.
Like, see when you're in a you're in a homeowner's property, a customer's home, and something they're not quite happy with something, like there's a bit of you want to fix that. You want to get them kind of back on side and feeling all right, because you're like, well, I'm in your home and I'm giving you a service. So there can be a lot of sort of influencing, I would say, by customers to kind of do that.
Especially because they were quite intimidating people.
Yeah.
They were quite big. I was like, I'm just a wee guy myself. You'll do it this way. Aye, all right.
They weren't going to pay you, they were also going to batter you.
I thought he'd understand because like, he was a tradie himself, so I thought he'd had a bit more leeway. But
sometimes that's worse, I think. I don't know. It's like, it just depends on the person, to be honest. And so what about the TikTok journey then? That's how I ended up first seeing you, I think. How did that come about?
Another long, it was about the time of COVID as well. Like I had like bored sitting in the house, like we were on furlough and that, and saw TikTok videos on Facebook, and I was like, what is this? Like, so I'm looking at it, and it's just stupid dances and things like that. And then I started seeing like a couple of decorators on it, and I was like, made a couple of videos for a personal account, but I was like, okay, it's not for me. But like going back to I broke my arm, I was having a bit of bother with it when I went back to work. But obviously, like, physiotherapists were like, no, like everything's shut down, you're not coming to us. So I had a Zoom call. I was like, well, I'm still getting a lot of bother in my right arm. And he'd suggested juggling.
Right.
So I was like, all right, well, I've got young kids, like that could be fun. But I was always a bit of a show pony. Like when I played football, I was always like, I wanted to be a tricky winger. Like, I was rubbish, like, but that's what I wanted to be. Like, so like I started learning how to juggle. Joined a couple of Facebook groups, and then like I was like, I wonder how like what else can you do with juggling? Like, so I started like learning some tricks. And a friend on one of the groups like, get on TikTok. There's a lot of us on TikTok. There's a community of jugglers on TikTok.
Wow. So
I started doing that, and got a bit of following on that as well. Like, just a hobby page really.
Yeah.
But my cousin was he's a social media manager. He's worked for like McLaren Formula 1 teams, Ferrari, the SRU, knows what he's talking about. And he's like, TikTok's made for you.
Yeah.
I was like, nah, I've tried it before and it just doesn't work. He's like, aye, I've saw your, like, the couple of decorating videos you made. It's not you though. It's like your phone voice. Like, you're like, oh yeah, this is how I would do this. And this is like, be you. Like, it comes across better if you're being you. Like, don't be afraid to swear. Like, things like that. Like, just be you. Tell people how you would do things. And I was like, fine, I'll get a shot. Like, I think we were both intoxicated. Like, we went to a tap room. Like, used to celebrating the birthday of his bairn. So it's like, I'll give it a try. Made a video, and we went on holiday to France with the family. And while we were away, I got a text message from somebody. I saw your TikTok. My dad was a decorator. He used to say the exact same things as you about the trade. I'm not that way inclined with painting and decorating, so you come into my house. Wow. And I was like, well, if I'm going to get work for it, then I'm going to stick with it. And nice. Then it just kind of snowballed from there. Yep. And as I take it, that's your biggest sort of source of work now then? It's a close second. Like, it's still mostly like people tagging me on Facebook. Yeah. But like the amount of people I think are for Facebook and they're like, no, I saw you on TikTok. And yeah, that's interesting. And you've done a lot of stuff on there where you're actually helping homeowners as well. So you're actually showing them. It gets greeted with a lot of jealousy for other decorators though. It's like, you're showing people how to do it. You're doing yourself to work. Yeah. I was like, no, I'm showing people how I do it. And if they want to take that and do it themselves, fine. Yeah. But a lot of people are more like, I like the transparency and like. And do you get a lot of people disagreeing with how you're doing things? Oh, aye, all the time. But everybody works differently. Yeah. Like, horses for courses. And I keep telling these people, I could get slashed to show me how to play guitar, but I'm not going to play guitar. Aye. Like, if I show somebody how to do wallpapering, there's no guarantee they're going to actually do it. I'm just showing them how I would do it, and they'll probably be like, okay, what? That leaves a good job. I'll get in touch with them today. I'll do my wallpapering for me. I think the fact that you can put it out there and be confident about it and show, look, this is how you do it. This is the right way. This is why it's the right way. Then it's perceiving you as an expert, really. That shows that you know what you're doing. So I think that would put a lot of confidence in the customer. But also, like, the probably like, there is the element of where it's like it's entertaining as well sometimes to watch it, because you see the progress and the transformation is amazing. So like, some people will just watch it for a sheer entertainment point of view, but other people will watch it like to probably try and get some. I started off as a laugh, and I tried to keep it that way. I don't want to be too serious about it. I think I done a video recently, and I was like, I didn't do this to get deals with brands. I didn't do this to get money. I didn't do this to get paid for videos. I do it for a laugh, and like, because I enjoy it, I think other people enjoy it. Yeah, I think it's really good. Like,
a big takeaway for it is be yourself. Because the fact that you're being yourself, it allows that if there's a customer on the other side, or if just somebody who's following you might not necessarily become a customer, if they like you or they don't like you, then at least they can make their decision there and then. It saves the hassle of, like before you might have, just seen your Facebook page or something. You can't really tell through a Facebook page, unless there is video content or certain posting, but 9 times out of 10, through a decorator's Facebook page, you're not going to go, I quite like that person.
Aye.
So they might go, this company looks legit, that's pretty good, and then you turn up and not everybody likes everybody. So they might go, I didn't really like that guy.
It's really hard to put a personality to an Instagram post or a Facebook post. It's just like, this is my finished work. This ceiling's white. This wall's this colour. This is that brandy wallpaper. That's boring. Like, at least on like TikTok and like when you're doing like reels or anything, it is you. And people can sort of like say, well, Kim, what? He's not my cup of tea.
And the thing is, if you're having a laugh with it, then it's like you're probably going to get customers who's like, oh, he looks like quite a good laugh, and he doesn't take things too seriously. Like that, you're probably going to attract people that you're going to get on with. Whereas if you were sort of putting something that's just overly professional, and you're like you were saying, your cousin was saying to you, doing a voiceover of it, and then like the phone voice, and then they're like that person then hires you, then they've kind of got you in to do the job, and then that's not really actually who you are. So it's like, it's kind of a wee bit on a false pretense. So quite a big believer in that, just kind of putting yourself out there as you.
Definitely, and I think it maybe attracts the customers I'm looking for. I'm not really looking for people that are up themselves or anything. Like, I like working for people that are like me. Like they outgoing, quite relaxed, like just normal people, I guess.
If that's your ideal customer, then ultimately you want to attract your ideal customer. What's next for you then?
I've not really made any plans or that. I just kind of want to see how it goes and that. Like, I'm going to travel a bit this year, going to like painting and decorating shows, like with the Scottish Painting and Decorating Show at the Dalmahoy this month. If the childcare comes through, we're going to go down to Bolton for the Trade Decorator Show, and then hopefully get down to the big one in Coventry, and I think that's in November. Like, just meet some of the people I've met online. Good. Do some networking.
Good. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, it's the same handle on all of them.
Brilliant.
At S Mclean Decor.
Good man, thanks for coming on, mate.
Not a problem.
Brilliant.
Thanks for having me.
Good man.
Cheers.